welcome to this episode of the American Jail Association podcast. I'm joined here today by Shaun Klucznik, AJA's president, and Lisa Peck, AJA's second vice president. And today we're going to talk about volunteerism, what makes AJA great, and how you can get involved with AJA. And so, Shaun, let's start the conversation by talking about committee work and the opportunity for people who may be on the sidelines but want to be more involved with AJA, maybe an aspiring leader, and how they can get involved with the committee structure within AJA.
Sure. So that was a big topic of discussion for the board last year, and we did a pretty good job, I think, of streamlining committees. And we want to make sure that the board members have great access to choosing their committee path, but more importantly, having members who want to be active in the association, want to learn more about the association, have access to joining committees they're interested in. So if we have trainers that are interested in learning more about how they can help AJ with training, then they should just reach out to Secretary Sam Davis. He heads that up, and jump on, volunteer to be on the committee. I think I would have been better served jumping on a committee sooner, or committees plural, just to get to know more about the functions behind the scenes, especially for those committees that help to develop conference, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of work that goes into conference, as you're aware, as your staff's aware, and a lot of the committees have a hand in what goes on at conference. So, obviously conference is the biggest thing we do every year, but it's not the only thing we do. So as we continue to push forward to make sure we're providing the highest level of training, advocacy for legislative issues, we have a legislative affairs committee. If you're interested in that kind of stuff, then we can reach out to us and we can get you on the committee to learn more. And really, that's a great way to see if you're really interested in the association, learning more about it, and then seeing if you want to volunteer even further. Mm-hmm. We have a few roles that, with that experience on a committee, it would spur me to say, you know what, maybe I want to go run for the board. And I think that first step into committee work would be a real benefit. Right.
And Lisa, I know you've participated in some of our committees. Which ones have you participated in?
I've participated in conference planning and fall summit planning. I was a resolutions chair for a year, and right now I'm the membership chair. Mm-hmm. And I've been a part of many different committees that AJ has had.
Right. So there's a committee for just about any type of interest, right? And that is certainly a good way to get yourself involved in the organization initially. Our committees make recommendations directly to our board of directors. So a lot of the actions that the board take are based upon recommendations from these committees. So it is an important part of the volunteer structure for the organization, and certainly a good entry point for anyone who is an aspiring association leader, right? And that is one of the fantastic things about being a volunteer at AJA. It does give you these leadership opportunities. And, if you get to the point where Shaun's at, where you're the AJA president, you suddenly find yourself in a room in front of 700 people and giving a presentation, right? And you certainly develop a lot of leadership skills as you rise through the ranks of our board structure. And so, Shaun, talk a little bit about how you initially engaged with AJA. I know you didn't go the committee route, but the iConnect route, and that's certainly another way that people can step up and show some leadership in our association.
Sure. My initial foray into AJA was sitting through a class in 2007 and getting to meet Connie. And that's another reason to get on committees. You get to also work with headquarters staff too, because each committee has a liaison with staff. And then in 2012, I went to NJLCA, went to class 10, and I realized it was a great course, and I want to make sure that I stay closely associated with AJA. And then when I found iConnect, and I realized, wow, what a treasure trove of information that's there, and I got very active on iConnect. I bet you some people thought annoyingly active, but the fact that you can network the way you do and share information the way you do and share best practices the way you do, I was on there a lot and learned a lot, shared a lot. So much so that I wanted to be more involved. So I saw some key names that were very busy doing that stuff too. Shaun Laughlin was on there a lot. Immediate past president Shaun Laughlin. Sam Davis was on there a lot. And I got to know those guys through iConnect, basically. And when I decided, maybe I'm going to run for the board, And I reached out to them and thought what they were directly, and because of that connection, I said, what do you guys think about me running? I think it'd be good. You're pretty active at least, and give it a shot. So I decided to run for the general board and was successful. And it's kind of the rest is history at that point. So.
I really appreciate what you shared. There is headquarters office staff in the background, and making sure that the operations run smoothly. But what really makes AJA great is our volunteer members and their willingness to stand up and share their expertise very freely with others for the betterment of jails across the nation. And certainly iConnect it does a great job of connecting us with our members throughout the country. Great resource for getting fast information when you need it 24/7, basically.
Right.
Yeah, and so I certainly appreciate your contributions over the years to that. Lisa, same question for you. How did you first get involved with AJA?
I had gone to my first AJA conference in 2005, and at that time, I didn't really know what AJA was all about, and I kind of backburnered what AJA was for a bit, and then I got to go to NJLCA, Class 12, and I found that there was so much opportunity there. And I was encouraged to get a certification first. And so I went, I became a certified jail manager. And out of that, I realized there's another opportunity to volunteer and be a part of AJA by applying for the Jail Manager Certification Commission. And I did that. I got onto that. I served on the Jail Manager Certification Commission for 5 years. And out of that, I got to know board members. And I became more and more familiar with what AJA does, what the board does. And through those connections and sitting and talking with various different board members from general board all the way up through president, I was encouraged to go ahead and run for the board and continue to get more involved. And that was what I did.
Fantastic. And you mentioned several points of access, I would say, to the association and really gaining a better understanding of how we function and, what's important to us as an organization. The AJA Conference and Jail Expo being one of those things. That's held every year in May. And certainly anyone who attends our conference leaves the conference with a better understanding of what we're all about, what our mission is. And you make so many great connections when you're at conference through the networking. And you also mentioned NJLCA, the National Jail Leadership Command Academy, for those who may not be familiar. I know you're both graduates. Shaun, can you just talk a little bit more about what the Academy's all about?
So by far is the best corrections-based leadership development course I've ever attended. I've been doing this job for 28 years, had the opportunity to attend a lot of cool schools, but NJLCA by far just is awesome. It doesn't compare, especially having, I live in Florida and I've gone to some schools that are state-based, right? And that networking is helpful, but when you sit in a room full of 35 to 40 people that are all across the country, I want to say, I'm really guessing here, but I want to say there was 26 states represented in my class when I went. That's huge, right? Being able to network across at least half the country is awesome and have that ability. But it's intense. It was, we got there on Sunday and coursework started before you got there. You had to read some books, and awesome books. But you're getting started Sunday afternoon, and then all day long you're there, and then every evening something's going on. It's not I'm going to training, I'm going to go hang out and go to dinner and go relax, watch TV at night. No, you're busy. And by the time you're done, you feel a lot better. You're locked in, you're well trained, but you're tired, right? And you're looking forward to get home. But the process and the teams that are there, the team that's been in place, the curriculum's amazing, right? And I needed that training at that point in my career. I came home a lot more confident as a lieutenant, and it was definitely beneficial.
And Lisa, you mentioned certifications. Could you talk about the different types of certifications that AJA offers?
So we have 3 different kinds of certifications at this time. We have a certified jail officer, certified jail supervisor, and certified jail manager. And it's a great way for to find your skill level, find out where you're at, and improve yourself. And it's also a way to show not only your agency, but others around the country,
Right.
how committed you are to your profession, and that you're knowledgeable, you're somebody that they can go to and ask questions because you've passed the test, you've passed all of these things that say you know the field of corrections. And it's just a fantastic way to be able to really be a part of a profession and show that it is a profession.
So it sounds like for both of you, your involvement with AJA has opened up some leadership roles for you and perhaps helped you advance in your positions at your jails.
Absolutely. So one thing I like to mention is something that kept me motivating while I was working on my master's degree was to look out different jail administrator jobs from across the country, trying to see what the requirements were to make sure I stayed driven through to finish my master's. And I did a search one time, and I saw that there was a pretty large jail in the state of Texas was advertising for a jail administrator job that required a bachelor's degree and preferred a master's degree or a certified jail manager certification. So that organization recognized the value of CJM. I know I've been a CJM for years. I know I push it onto my lieutenants, my middle managers, and they're all CJMs. I think it's invaluable. I think Lisa said it well. It proves your credibility, right? The test isn't easy. It's definitely not. It's not a cupcake test. It's not just like NJLCA. We are providing legit training, and you gotta pass the muster. It's not a gimme. Some law enforcement training is. Sometimes the annual training is kind of refresher. All right, we've done the same thing with CPR for the last 3 years. Okay, but this is legit. And it proves you wear that title CJM. We wear it proudly. My signature, or even this placard says MA CJM. Right? It's valuable, and and AJA has led the way with that because I think that credential is probably the most valuable one in all of local jails.
Yeah, and with all of these programs, just to illustrate the earlier point, they all run well because of our members. So we couldn't do NJLCA without our members, our instructors, the mentors who also go and support that program. So in every one of these programs we talked about, we really rely on our members to step up and make contributions to make them happen. The certifications, the commission that you served on, that's all important stuff. And without those, we could not accomplish what we do as an association. So, people volunteering and freely sharing their expertise is what makes us great and what helps us accomplish our mission and our support of jails across the nation. So let's talk about the board of directors in particular. That's obviously the greatest opportunity for a leadership role in the association. And you're both current board members and have been on the board for some time now. Let's talk a little bit about the process. I know that nominations for the board positions are currently open and will be open until the end of October, right? So if anyone's interested in serving on the board, this is the time to really think about how you go about doing that. So Lisa, could you maybe talk about that process a little bit?
So there's two ways to be able to go onto the ballot to run for the board of directors, and you can self-nominate and put your name out there to the nomination committee that is what you want to do. But you do also have to have a letter of support from a member in good standing in order to show that they know who you are committed, and that is the direction you want to go. You can also be nominated by a member in good standing as well, without doing the self-nomination. So there are two ways that you can go onto that ballot, and part of that process, once you're being nominated, you do provide a bio to AJA that goes out there, and that's just basically almost like a little resume about yourself and promoting yourself and what you do and what your commitment is to the field of corrections. And then you have that opportunity to be a part of an amazing organization that really is focused in on the field of corrections.
Mm-hmm. And that entire process, again, is driven by our member volunteers. There's a nominations committee, and they review all the nominees, I believe. And after everyone's submitted their paperwork by the end of October, and then we go to elections in January. I think the elections typically run through the end of January or so. So at that point, you are being voted into these positions by our membership. So, having previous experience doing volunteer work at AJA, trainings, things like that, anything you can do to make people aware of who you are and what you have to contribute certainly helps with running for a board position. And I know many people, they have to run several times before they actually get a vote to the board, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I know exposure is key. So if you volunteer for committee work, you're going to be exposed to at least multiple members from the association, multiple probably board members too. I think every committee we have has at least one or two board members on. Some are required by the bylaws to have very specific board members on those committees. So having that ability to network with those people directly. So when the ballots do come out and your members at your agency say, hey, LT, or hey, Major, who should I vote for here? Well, I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, but I can tell you I know these people, and these people are driven, and they're interested in helping the association. And by all means, I'd fully support them, and I have no problem really sharing who I vote for, because I do my best to. There are times, and I'll be very honest here. You look at the ballot, and you're like, who is this person?
Right.
That's another reason why iConnect is so beneficial. I know I've discussed with people or try to recruit, like, excuse me, Jonathan Aday, coming on the board. I met him at NJLCA. I went back as a mentor, and that's where I met him. And I said, Jonathan, why don't you were so involved here, why don't you get involved with the board? What's the best way to do that? I said, first of all, get on iConnect, right? Get your name out there, answer people. And truly it sounds silly, but that leaderboard on the bottom, it means your name's, Lisa's name's on there all the time. Mm-hmm. My name's usually on there all the time. And I think more exposure to when members see your name, just like at last conference, I was able to put faces to names that I've interacted with on iConnect. And that ability to have name recognition when a ballot comes out really helps.
Right. And so let's talk a little bit about exactly what the board of directors does, right? So we do have a lot of meetings, right? And the board is responsible for setting the strategy for the association, what we want to focus on. As a matter of fact, we're sunsetting our current strategic plan, and we'll be looking at creating a new strategic plan and making key financial decisions for the board, approving the budget each year for the board, selecting a conference site for the organization. We'll be doing that here in a couple months in October. And that's obviously a very important function of the board, because our conference is what most people think about when they think about AJA, and certainly an important financial decision for the organization. So give me your perspective, Shaun, on some of the things that the board focuses on that you feel are important.
So I think we focus a lot on what's best for the members, right? And you said it earlier that a lot of the board meetings are driven by what the committees are suggesting or working on.
Yes.
So we spend, if bylaws need to be changed that have to be voted on, then we spend some time doing that. Resolutions are hot topics sometimes when we try to stay on the cutting edge of legislative issues or stuff that's going to affect local jails. And if AJA can take a stance, developing a resolution saying, here's where we stand on this topic, then those are often hashed out during board meetings. But we're always, the mission of the board meetings typically is just the day-to-day business of the association. Clearly, you're in charge of the association day to day. So your opportunities to get all the bosses in the room basically and have a chat about what's necessary from your perspective. That's where we make some of those decisions. I mean, the money decisions have to be voted on, right? Mm-hmm. And luckily for us, I think we've gotten a lot better. We've been able to streamline a lot of things. We use that online system to make sure we have the documents in advance so we can be prepared before the meeting, so we're not having, our board meetings can go for 4 hours, or they could go for 9-10 hours historically. Those days are over, thankfully. Mm-hmm. But I think, when you join the board of directors, you have a fiduciary responsibility, right? And you can explain that for us.
Yeah, for sure.
It's real. Mm-hmm. It's a real job. I mean, I'm sitting in a job where, you finally have one boss, right? Mm-hmm. But your boss is different every year, and here I am.
Right.
And that's not easy for you. I know that for a fact. But people don't realize at this point, that's a lot of responsibility set on my shoulders.
It is.
Yeah. but it's an awesome opportunity, and being part of this association and being part of this board is humbling. And I tell you what, looking back, it's made me a better boss and leader at my job, my full-time job. And thankfully, my sheriff and command staff support me doing this. But it's good.
Right. Yeah. And you mentioned the fiduciary responsibilities, and that's a legal responsibility that our board members have to make business decisions that are in the best interest of the organization. So setting aside personal interest in some situations. And yeah, that is an important obligation of the board members. Shaun mentioned resolutions, and I'm wondering if some people are wondering what resolutions are. They're on our website, not easily found, perhaps. So, as a former resolution committee chair, perhaps you could talk a little bit about what the resolutions are, why we have resolutions, and maybe give some examples.
The resolutions are in place really for us as an organization to be able to express what we support in the best interests of agencies, in the best interests of those that live in a jail as well. A good portion of our resolutions are actually more focused on how we take care of and treat our inmates. It's not necessarily about what we do as a deputy or a correctional officer. It's really about how do you care for those that are in your care and custody. And we have things such as, what is the best practice for treating a pregnant person? How do you take care of that person? What is the best way to do it? What should you, what shouldn't you do? It may be about saying, we don't want there to be smoking in jails because it's a fire hazard. It's a health hazard and all of those kinds of things. So we really look for, some of it are kind of hot topic issues,
For sure.
such as PREA. We have PREA resolutions in there. And some of them are things that are just, they're about just the basic care of those that are in our custody.
I think they're basically also like position statements.
Yeah,
So,
the true north for the organization.
right.
Yeah.
So when one that came up in the last couple of years was there are a lot of jurisdictions were looking to ban the use of solitary confinement.
Right.
Well, being able to separate someone from general population is a viable tool and a very valuable tool for a jail administrator to keep their facility safe.
Right. And often in that individual's best interest.
At times, absolutely.
Right.
So taking that tool away just because a legislator or a legislative body says, we're just going to take it away because it's not good for people. We agree locking somebody up in a cell 24/7 is not healthy. But to keep them safe, the general population safe, and staff safe, we can't have that tool eliminated.
Right.
But there's good practices you could set, right? Making sure people aren't getting lost in the system, being locked away for 3 years without, make sure mental health sees them, the medical sees them, they have the opportunity to get out. Their cases are reviewed at least weekly. There's some best practices. That's basically a position statement. So if you want to look on our website and find our stance on solitary confinement, yes, should it be absolutely limited to the worst case scenario? Absolutely. But should it be taken away from a jail to keep their place safe? No. So that's our stance. And that could change. The board could change, and we can change the resolutions as the boards change. If somebody disagrees the way it is, they can be presented, and we have those discussions during board meetings.
Absolutely.
And but as of right now, I like the way you said it. It's our true north, right? And that's a way for organizations or agencies even to look. Well, the American Jail Association says we should do it this way, or recommend this. Then it gives them an opportunity to at least validate what they're working on.
Right. We talked a little bit about the conference earlier. One of the things AJA is known for is for providing the very best training for jail professionals, right? And so again, we couldn't do that without our members. And with conference in particular, we're always looking for new presenters. And so could you talk a little bit about that? And, if someone does have a strength that they feel that they could come in and talk about and present on, how they could get involved with either the conference or just our training opportunities. I know, Shaun, recently you had offered some trainings at your agency, and how did that come together, and how did you identify those individuals to do that training?
So luckily for me, I like to call those pop-up trainings. They like as needed trainings, basically. I thought, we put out classification training all across the country every year. I hadn't seen it in the southeastern region in a long time, and I said, I have some experts on my staff that could absolutely teach this course. So they worked to fine-tune, develop a course that's was highly successful, to include Ashley Miller, who's on our board with us. She did a legal section at the beginning of the course that was kind of unique. And that course is available to other instructors at this point to use if they want to. It belongs to the American Jail Association. But we recognize it as a need, put it up, advertise it for about 7 or 8 weeks. And I believe we had over 30 people attend from all across the country. There was I think 3 different states represented outside of Florida that came, and after that we had I think 2 local agencies come back to engage with the instructors that were there and to shadow our classification unit to see how we handle things. And it was obviously back to networking, right? So it was a great opportunity. So if you're a trainer and you want to train and you think you have an idea and you want to present it to us, send it in. Reach out to us on iConnect, reach out to us via email, and we'll always vet opportunities to do that, especially if you can host it. If you can host it, it's a great opportunity for you to advertise your home agency too. Mm-hmm. And we took full advantage of that. It's shared at AJA, shared on our home website. It's a great way to network, and it's a great way to actually support the association. If you're passionate about something, I guarantee we can help you.
Right. And for the conference, there's a more formal process in place, right? We have a submission process that is somewhat competitive, and that submission process is open now. And then there will be a planning committee that meets in October, here in a couple months, that will sit down and review all those submissions and make decisions about who will be presenting at the annual conference. But having said that, I will say that we are often looking for more presentations. So more submissions is a better thing. And I think that kind of speaks to an important value of the association, and that is just, being able to get diverse talents, diverse perspectives, people from different size jails, different parts of the country on the board. Could you talk about that a little bit, and volunteering in everything that we do?
Yes, everybody brings something to the table, and we are always looking to continue our diversity. If we've said for years, when you look at the table, when you look at the table that all the board members are at conference, or when you see us at any event that AJA is sponsoring, you should see yourself
right
somewhere in that mix. And that is one of the things that I think AJA prides itself on is our diversity. But diversity is also including your regions of the country. Every different region of the country has different issues and needs, and having representation from all different regions really can help make a robust board. They can focus on different things and help everyone, in the entire nation, instead of just, we all focus in this one area or that one area because that's the need in that area. And it helps us to be more diverse and more open in doing all of that. Plus, different size jails, they have different needs. What a small jail needs is not what a very large jail needs.
Right.
And so we really like to have experience from all different sizes of jails on the board, because again, they can bring those issues and needs up to the table and provide information. And then through all of the activities of the board, they're there to help. They're there to give their expertise to those members who are maybe in that small jail that's struggling, or maybe in that large jail that has a new issue, and we're there for them.
So yes, one of the things that makes us great as an association and helps us impact corrections across the country is the diversity of the folks who step up, become leaders in our organization, whether it's through being a presenter or being on the board or a committee or volunteering to information on iConnect. There's just so many ways to engage in the organization and really have a tremendous impact on jails across the nation, and certainly on us as an organization. And so if you are interested and want to to do some work around professional development and leadership, there are just tremendous opportunities through AJA, and I would encourage you to reach out. So thank you for joining this official episode of the American GL podcast. We look forward to seeing you again soon.